This video is of a very neat truck. This is a Coles Express tank van. Now, Coles Express was a trucking company in Maine, based in Bangor, and they had a whole fleet of trucks, but they had 4 of these, and this is a 1963 GMC. And their whole purpose was to haul fuel oil to northern Maine and haul potatoes back. And to do that, it had a couple special features about it. Number one, it's a Dromedary truck, which means that it's got a big tank on the back, and it can haul a trailer, so it can actually do 2 things. The second thing about it is it actually has tandem front wheels that you see here, and they're on both sides. So how Coles Express would use this truck, and why they even built the thing, was they had a lot of fuel oil in Bangor, Maine that they needed to haul up to northern Maine. Well, once they unloaded the oil, they had nothing to haul back, so they had to bring back an empty trailer. They also had a lot of a lot of potatoes to haul out of northern Maine, but they didn't have a lot of cargo going north. So what they ended up doing was hauling an empty trailer north, filling it with potatoes, and driving it back. Well, this truck fixes that problem, because how Coles Express used it is right here in Bangor, Maine, where a lot of oil barges come up the Penobscot River. They'd fill up that 3,500 gallon tank with oil. They would then hitch on an empty trailer, because if we go under the rope right over here, you can see that behind this tank right here we do have a trailer hitch, a single powered axle, and you can see the back of the tank right here. Probably not very well because it's real dark back here. And I've got a picture right here that I'd like to show you, and maybe this will come out on the video. This is the first tank van. It had a square tank. The other 3 had round tanks like this one, but they would actually have a tank, and they could also haul a trailer. So they would fill this up in Bangor, hitch on an empty trailer, drive up to northern Maine, unload the oil, fill up the trailer, and drive it back. So they could actually make money in both directions, hauling oil north and potatoes south. Now this truck here is the last one in existence, and it was actually the last one. This is 406. The first one was number 400. Coles Express always numbered their tractors even numbered and their trailers odd numbers. And this one was actually sold when Coles Express was done using it, but I'll get into a little bit more of that later. Alright, let's crawl up inside this truck. See if I can do that while I'm holding a camera and not slip off the darn thing. Okay, so I've hopped up inside of the truck here. To say this was Spartan would be understating it. For the museum purposes, and this is located in the Coal Land Transportation Museum, we do have a mannequin driver, and he's not wearing mannequin pants, unfortunately. But you can see we've got a radio on board, some gauges, some instruments, and that's about it. There's not a lot of sound insulation on it, a window that goes nowhere, but this is the inside of the tank van. Pretty typical of trucks of the 60s and 70s, very Spartan, very loud in here because the engine is right here. I mean, you're sitting on it, that's why it's a COE or cab over engine. Very loud, but very effective. Now, there was a small problem, or I won't say small problem, with these trucks, and it deals with the front tandem axles. Here in Maine, we get potholes and frost heaves, and culverts will sink in the ground and it gets very bumpy. Now this truck has 2 front wheels because when this fuel tank is full, it's very heavy, and they needed to spread the load over actually 2 axles instead of the regular 1. All 4 steer, and by the way, there's no power steering. Now it's sprung very stiff, and actually that's being nice. Very, very stiff. So when this is loaded with 3,500 gallons of oil, it's not a bad riding truck. But when that tank is empty, boy oh boy, any frost heave you hit, these wheels will just jump right over it, and that driver is probably hitting his head right on the ceiling there. Very, very hard riding truck, especially when empty. So a lot of drivers, while it was an okay truck when loaded, didn't want to drive this thing when the tank was empty. Now, why did Coles Express stop using these trucks? Well, the laws at the time were pretty specific. You could run, say, a 40-foot trailer and have a pretty long tractor pull it. But the laws changed, and what happened was you could pull a 45-foot trailer as long as the overall length, including the tractor, was only so many feet. Well, obviously this truck, with its large tank and cab, pulling a 45-foot trailer exceeded that allowable limit. Well, Coles Express, in terms of efficiency, wanted to run the longer trailers because they didn't want to run a special fleet of smaller trailers for their tank vans and then have longer trailers for their regular tractors. So these tractors were essentially phased out due to the fact that they were so long. Now, I said earlier that Coles Express sold their trucks, and they did. What they did is they stripped the truck of the tank and just sold it as a regular tractor. Of course, it's a little bit different because of its tandem front wheels, but they sold them all, and we lost track of all but one of them. It was actually sold into somewhere in central Maine. Trucker guy bought it, and I think he used it as a sprayer. He mounted on his own tank. Coles Express had kept their tanks and just kind of used them as storage at their Bangor warehouse. And then the idea for the Coal Museum came around, and an idea of having a whole variety of Coles Express trucks under one roof. So what Coles Express was able to do is buy back their one truck, put on their original aluminum tank on it, and actually restore it fully 100% operational into the vehicle that you see right here. And now, sort of as a special treat, I should say at the end of the video, I'm going to show a couple of vintage movie clips of these tank vans in service because they were a very neat part of Maine, and a lot of people can remember seeing these on the roads because Coles Express ran these trucks 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, hauling oil north and hauling potatoes south. And like I said, there were 4 of them, and they would just run. And this was they were purchased before the Interstate 95, so they actually had to go up US Route 2. So they were going through downtowns and all those very small roads and places. So